Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors. John Kruse, we've got a special treat for you today. We are talking to Cee Dub Welch. He is a nationally known expert when it comes to the subject of camp cooking and Dutch oven cooking. He has hosted a radio show. He makes appearances at sportsman shows around the Northwest. And he's written 5 books on the subject, too. Cee Dub, it is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, thanks, John. I'm happy to be here.
Cee Dub, let's go ahead and talk about the basics. You know, a lot of people that you give these seminars to about outdoor cooking, they really don't know how to go about it. They might have a propane stove that they have from Coleman, and that's about all they know. But boy, there's so much you can do with a Dutch oven. Let's go ahead and start off with what are some of the things you need to have some great meals outside?
Well, you know, John, the way I look at it, the most important piece of equipment is the desire to eat good, and then find good equipment. You know, there's several manufacturers out there, Dutch ovens, and like anything else, that sometimes it's those little accessories like a lid lifter, a pair of tongs, a cooking table. And, you know, a cooker's just like a carpenter. The better tools you have, the better the outcome. And so, and then the one thing I really like to emphasize is people, they see me come out here and they cook a lot of different things. If you're getting started, keep it simple. We teach time and temperature. It doesn't matter what we put in a Dutch oven. Wrong temperature, wrong time, bad results.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit. You know, your Dutch oven, for those of you who aren't aware of it, it's a big, heavy cast iron pot with a lid. So you're going to go out and buy one of those. There's, like you said, several good manufacturers out there. Camp Chef is one that comes to mind. And how big should it be for somebody who's just getting started? And you mentioned some other things they ought to buy with it.
Okay, the oven that I recommend most people start with is a 12-inch, regular 12-inch. And what's interesting about this oven is, say, your favorite lasagna recipe you make in a 9x13, you can make that in a 12-inch Dutch oven. It's the same size. One's round, one's rectangular, but I urge people to start with those simple recipes that they already know, and so that makes converting familiar recipes easy. And then a lid lifter. You know, you're using hot charcoal briquettes or wood coals on the lid, and, you know, a good lid lifter secures that lid. You can move it off without dumping ash in your food. A pair of metal tongs for moving briquettes around, and just a piece of metal to cook on.
You know, tell me about the whole idea of seasoning a Dutch oven before you use it. When I first heard about that, it really struck me as an odd thing. I just assumed you bought the darn thing and started cooking.
Well, you're kind of right and wrong. One time, if you bought a new piece of cast iron, it had to be seasoned. Now, all major manufacturers are pre-season it. You can go over here to our sponsor, who's got Dutch ovens brand new in the box, take them out of the box, rinse them with hot water, and go to cooking. But if you have one of those old pieces that needs seasoned, wash it with hot soapy water. A lot of times these will have a little bit of wax on them to keep them from rusting in the box. A very, very thin film of oil, just enough to make that metal glisten inside and out. And I recommend a gas grill at 500 degrees for an hour, and you're ready to cook. It's really fairly simple.
And that brings up another point. You can't wash a Dutch oven the same way you do other things, can you?
Well, yes and no. That's a personal preference thing, but the seasoning on a piece of cast iron is just nothing but carbonized organic matter, and soap will erode that. Consequently, it will erode your seasoning, but it's a personal preference. A lot of people still like to use soap, and so if they do, I just recommend they lightly oil it after they wash it. My ovens, we just use hot water and a plastic kitchen scraper, but it's what makes people feel most comfortable.
All right. So somebody's got a recipe, whether it be a cobbler or whether it be some vegetables or whether it be a meal, and we'll get into that in a minute. But how do they go about actually using the Dutch oven? They build a fire, or maybe they got some charcoal briquettes. What comes next?
Okay, once I get my charcoal lit, I prep my recipe, and a real simple one. Let's just get them started. My favorite beginner dessert is what we call a dump cake, and this is for your 12-inch oven. 2 cans, let's say 2 cans of cherry pie filling. Open the pie filling up, dump it in the Dutch oven, and level it out. take a chocolate cake mix, open the package up, don't mix it up, just dump the dry cake mix on top of the cherries. Level it out and pour in a 12-ounce soda. Cherry Coke, cherry cola, something like that. And then to bake that, we're going to evenly space about 6 or 7 briquettes underneath. And then on the top, I don't worry about counting briquettes, just make sure you have briquettes around the entire rim. Have those briquettes touching all the way around the outside with about 3 spaced in the middle. And in about 50 minutes, you're going to have a fantastic, quick, easy dessert.
Pardon me while I drool, Cee Dub.
Okay.
All right. So, that sounds incredibly simple. So you actually don't even have to light a campfire. You just need these briquettes, and as long as you have them in a fire pit, you're good.
You're good, yeah. And interestingly enough, I recommend most beginners use charcoal. Out here in the Northwest, we don't have a lot of good hardwoods. And so I recommend that you want consistent heat, and so that's why I recommend charcoal briquettes.
Okay, well, let's talk about another easy meal that perhaps people can try, and not a dessert this time, but actually a main course. Is there something that's really easy for people to do with the Dutch oven?
Okay, a main course, one of the ones I like, is I would take a couple of yellow onions, slice them up, cover the bottom of my Dutch oven. I would take some honey mustard. I'd take a frying chicken, cut into frying pieces. Just baste that with honey mustard, lay that on top of the onions. On that one, I would use about 10 briquettes underneath, but the same heat pattern we did our dessert with, all the way around the outside edge, 3 or 4 in the middle for about an hour.
And what's that called besides good?
Just a honey mustard chicken.
Oh, geez, it sounds great. So, and I guess that's the beauty of the Dutch oven. You can cook just about anything in there, can't you?
Anything you can make in your home kitchen, we can make in a Dutch oven. Absolutely.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, I started eating out of a Dutch oven in the early 1950s growing up in southern Idaho with my dad. I've been cooking professionally full-time for over 10 years, but actually started catering back in the early 1990s. So I can't remember when I haven't had a Dutch oven, let's put it that way, and my hair's gray.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your books, including your latest one, Gather Around the Table with Cee Dub, Dutch Oven, and Camp Cooking. What are people going to find in here?
They're going to find some quick, simple recipes. These recipes run the gamut from appetizers to desserts. And in this one, I updated the sourdough section that was in my first book. There's a very comprehensive section on sourdough. And then we put in a section in this one, even though it's a cookbook, a section on making homemade sausage, grinding your own sausage, which we have done in demonstrations in the past. We're not doing it this year. And it's just quick, simple recipes, nutritious, and easy to fix.
And I notice it's not just Dutch oven cooking. There's also camp cooking on a grill or skillet, too.
Oh yeah. Anything you want to cook, I can cook with the Dutch oven. But, we want to have fun and do different things. So, yeah, we use our skillets, our griddles, and just make camp cooking an all-around fun time.
Well, the recipes in here look fabulous, and you cover all 3 meals and desserts as well. Where can people find this book?
They can find them on our website, ceedubs.com. They're available at amazon.com. And some sporting goods stores here in the Northwest.
All right, folks, again, that book, Gather Around the Table, with Cee Dub, that's C-E-E space D-U-B, Dutch Oven and Camp Cooking. Looks like a great book written by a acknowledged expert in the field. Cee Dub, thanks so much for being on the show.
You bet, John. It was fun to be here.
I'm former Major League Relief pitcher Goose Gossage, here to make my most important pitch ever. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and help us protect millions of acres of North America's wildlife habitat.
Visit elkfoundation.org or call 1-800-CALL-ELK.